I apologise if the audio quality in this video isn't particularly good, it's just that I'm getting used to the new headset, a Razer Black Shark V2X, which I've been using in this session, Session 7 of Lost Man of Phandelver. We are finally resuming. If you haven't seen the Sword of the Ember Knight one-shot recaps, I would recommend them for that, because that will explain a lot of the things I'm going to talk about here, but I'll try and recap to the best of my abilities, as we've decided that the events of that will be canon for this adventure. So, where we left off previously was our characters, Group 89 had been resting in the southwestern room of Trezendar Manor at the basement, where we had taken a short rest after having fought bugbears and red brands, and having made a bargain with the Nothic to basically bring it fresh meat. We've stayed in the room with the dead goblin, with the blanket placed over him, whatever, and we went for a quick short rest, and then we passed out as we entered into the adventure Sword of the Ember Knight. We woke up, and Sildar Hallwinter had noticed that no one had come into the room at all, so, but we believed that the dream was real. It seemed incredibly real, and as well as the items that Shoria, myself, and Eliza were bestowed, as well as Emil's one shot at glory, to quote Judas Priest. So we're all a bit miffed, really, that the dream wasn't actually a real event. But we're going to carry on all the same. Eliza's player recapped the session of what happened previously. There's some RP going on about the dream, about moving forward, as well as the other person in our dream as well. Sildar Hallwinter wasn't there. He hadn't slept at all. He was keeping watch, and we noticed that there was someone else in our dream, and we're going to be finding them in about, I think it's an hour and a half, 2 hours time, I think it was. So, we haven't got the items. We do know that they exist in the world somewhere, but we don't actually have them on our person. So we're a bit miffed that they've been lost. Garveld, in his senility, senility, is that the word? I don't know. In his senile moments, believes that the ring has been stolen from him, so he's rather agitated that the gift of Kellenvor has been taken from him. So we decide to make our move forward. So we leave from the southwestern room into the room where the red brands were called by the bugbears. In there is a table with several chairs, and it looks as though a game of Knucklebones had been played. Now our DM Michaela has told us, from the tutorial arena story, which I've told you about, described Knucklebones as like jacks. I'm not overly familiar with the game, but I thought it was just going to be like dice or whatever. Or I guess like I can't remember what the name was. I should have looked it up first. But that dice game from Kingdom Come Deliverance, I really like that game. Especially when you've got the loaded die. Anyway, we gathered up these dice, or rather Shoria gathered up these dice, and along with these dice on the table, after looking for about 15 minutes or whatever, we find 75 copper pieces, 55 silver pieces, 17 gold pieces, and a gold earring ruby set worth 30 gold pieces. Eliza greedily snaps up the earrings and indeed all the jewellery that happened in this session. Oh yes, as well, we've been Emil was dead impressed by the dynamic lighting. I thought that was really, really interesting. He describes it as the cat's pajamas, which is now my new favourite phrase. I'm going to be using that a dizzyingly excessive amount, I think. So in this room, there's not much else. There's some barrels full of apples, dried meat, as well as some mead. So I empty my water. So Garveld empties his water skin and replaces it with mead, and he takes a swig. I must ask our DM if my character's considered drunk. I think I've had about 3 pints of it so far. So so they clear the room, and beyond that, there's nothing else in there. We take our time investigating, and we continue on. We then go through that door, and 5 feet in front of us is another door, as well as a hallway going east, leading into the crevasse, as we would later find out. But we had seen previously from when Drax was our DM, because it revealed most of the map, I should say, and we could see the sort of staircase leading down there anyway. So we move on. Oh yes, I should mention as well dice rolls as well. Eliza had a perception check of 14 to check the door. Shoria and Emil helped, did an investigation check of 16 with advantage. 6 was the lowest roll. So with a 23 perception, Eliza's listening to the next door. She can hear a faint dripping, constant and slow. Boiling water, possibly even bubbling. And Eliza's wondering, is this the lab that we know about? Emil turns to Sildar and just asks, as Jarno Albrecht, aka Glasstaff, leader of the Red Brands, has he ever shown any sort of alchemical interest? Now, Sildar, in his chainmail, is just about to march forward when Emil stops him and persuades him with a roll of 14 to stop him from rushing in, because it could be dangerous and there could be other things in there, traps, God knows what. Being an alchemical lab, I imagine it would be of great importance, and thus it could possibly be trapped, or there could be something else in there guarding it. So as we're going in, we consider Shoria having a sleeping spell, being a warlock of the Fae Pact, and using restraining and other such things. Anything that we can to sort of pin someone down, or at least just try and make sure that they can't reach the door and keep us out or whatever. So, we have a look in the alchemy lab, and we find... Eliza's passive perception of 14 as she's opening the door reveals that the room is filled with knickknacks, benches. It looks to be a workshop, and Eliza is absolutely correct. It is an alchemy lab. There is... On the left, you've got the... I believe it's like it's described as on the left, you've got the alchemical supplies, and on the right you've got a bookshelf or something like that. And as well, the only thing that's in this room besides us storming in is a rat. A rat which is sort of scurrying under the table and trying to go to the different players, Eliza, Emil and Shoria in particular. It's just not really sort of doing any harm while the players are sort of looking around. Eliza and Emil are looking at the alchemical supplies, all the different like the mortar and pestles, the amberlicks, and I'm quoting all my Elder Scrolls knowledge here. The flasks and the I don't know what other words there are. I forgot them all. Anyway. So, with a 15 nature check, Eliza manages to identify that they are potions. That Glasstaff is actually making potions. It's not just tea he's brewing, for instance. She also manages to identify mercury, a vial of bile, how vile, and as well as powdered nightshade. And Emil doesn't really know what any of this sort of stuff is, even with his brewer supplies. He knows when it comes to alcohol, he can tell you all about it, but when it comes to this, no. And as well, I'm rather glad that I changed my brewer supplies to mason's tools, because we've got a new DM, so a few minor modifications could be changed. It didn't, because at least now we've got one person in the party who can do brewer's tools, so that's good. So Eliza is then deciding to look at the bookshelf, and I decide to collect all the ingredients and such, because they won't be useful to Sister Gorel apparently, but they may be useful to an alchemist. Where we're going to find one in Phandelver, Neverwinter, or anywhere else, I've no idea, but that's part of the fun, I suppose. So I must make a note of that as well, to make sure that I mentioned that this is going to be a quest for me to find an alchemist of some sort. So, in the bookshelf are parchments, scrolls, of very little useful information there, except for one thing. There is a tome that stands out as not being particularly dusty or anything like that. It's more recently disturbed than everything else. The tome belongs to someone called Urmon, Urmon. it's a journal, and it's all in Dwarvish, and this journal mentions everything that we basically know about the Phandelver Pact, about the Forger spells, the dwarves, gnomes, and humans. I believe it's gnomes. I'm not sure. All the different races, anyway, working together to fight the orcs and use the Forger spells for whatever purposes it's there for. It only gives us a very general view, though. Everything we sort of know we already learned from other NPCs. But we are given another location to consider, the Sword Mountains. So I'm not familiar where that is on the gigantic map. I will have to check that. I think, if memory serves, it's either to the north or the east. I'm pretty sure it's towards the east. I believe that's where Dragon of Ice Spire Peak takes place as well. I'm not sure. Again, I'm just going entirely off the map that I remember that I have in my memory. So yeah, in this bookshelf, Garvald also takes some parchments, and Emil tells me not to spill any of the alchemical ingredients on the parchment that I intend to use for a couple of things when we get out of here, and. I tell Emil that I might drink it before then. To which Emil asks, "Are you okay, Garveld?" Yes, this is my attempt at getting involved in the party and shenanigans. Not very well, but hey, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I will sample the vial. The vial of bile. I don't know. So anyway, Eliza holds onto the books. And Emil is now playing with this rat that is now come to him. I do a medicine check to see if there's any sort of parasites that are making it friendly, if it's got any plague or disease or anything like that. A 13 medicine check reveals that it seems to be fine. So not a great roll, but I don't think it would have helped really, because as soon as Emil takes out of his pack some cured meat like jerky to offer to the rat, it disappears. It goes poof out of existence. Emil very perceptively says, "I think Glasstaff knows we're here." Rather horribly, Eliza complains about hating magic users, and then proceeds to get up against the door to see the door towards the east to see if there's going to be any other trouble on the other side. At this point, we hear a grinding of stone, unlike anything we've really sort of heard before. I would like to use my stone cunning ability to find out what the nature of this is, but I would have to see it to understand. So, and that's fair. So we drop that line of thought. Eliza then swings the door open with Shoria in tow, asking if we could have some perhaps sleep spells. And Shoria says, "Oh yes, of course, if you don't hate magic users that much." And then Eliza apologises by saying, "Well, you know, you haven't done anything to harm us yet, so." And that is good, actually, yeah, given how strangely lethal sleep spells can be. I do believe that in her other campaign, Shoria's player had, because she's copied that character, had put another party to sleep, which wasn't good at all. But still, never mind, eh? So yeah, so in this next room is simply just a bedroom, a desk, a bed, a chest, and a 4-inch gap in the wall. Unfortunately, it appears as though... Whoops, Daisy, sorry, I've just skipped ahead in my pictures there. Unfortunately, this does mean that Glasstaff has used a secret door to escape. The room is empty. But, or was it Glasstaff? Might have been someone else. Who knows? Emil worries that he's screwed us, rightly so. An investigation check on his end of 9 reveals there's no traps, so we go in. There's papers on the desk. The group looks... Yes. The group's looking at these papers, at the chest. I'm looking at the door, though, this gap. Rather, I didn't know at the time it was a door. But I look at this gap, and Sildar comes along to try and open it. But alas, to no avail. We both roll poorly. Or rather, I should say I help him, so I give him advantage, and no, we don't budge it at all. So there is a note on the door. I'm going to try and find it now. Yes, here we are. So there's not a note on the door, so there's a note on the desk. A mysterious letter, which says, Lord Albrecht, my spies in Neverwinter tell me that strangers are due to arrive in Phandelver. They could be working for the dwarves. Capture them if you can, kill them if you must, but do not allow them to upset our plans. See that any dwarven maps in their possession are delivered to me with haste. I'm counting on you, Yarno. Don't disappoint me. Now, as far as I'm aware, this letter was unsigned. At least that's what the handout says. We imagine that this is going to be the Black Spider. Sildar enters a rage. He kicks a chair, which I'm going to just imagine in my headcanon exploded on the door. And Shoria says to him that the killing blow shall be yours. Eliza checks the chest. And what does she find? She, of course, finds money. A stash of coins, 180 silver pieces, 130 gold pieces, a silk pouch, fine to the touch, is gemstones, 5 carnelians, I believe they are. I can't read my own handwriting, worth 10 gold pieces each, 2 peridots, 15 gold pieces each, and a shiny round stone, a pearl worth 100 gold pieces. Eliza takes them. There in this staircase, this door and this gap in the door, there is a gap. We can just see a staircase going up. We spend a bit of time looking around for a door. Shoria's 20 investigation skill reveals a loose stone to open the door. I immediately give chase, going up the stairs. Once again, the party is asking if I'm okay, and yeah, I'm determined to find this potential necromancer. But I'm also very much interested in the stonework of this place. I'm thinking of how I'm going to renovate Tresendar Manor when all this business with the Red Brands is over, and turn it into a crypt. And I might actually keep these secret doors and whatnot. So there is that. At this stage, we are now going to introduce Ellie Toscobble. Now, this is where I took a bit of a break, so I don't really have all the details here, I'm afraid. But this is the part where Ellie, we can't see anything about her, is going to try and escape the cells along with the prisoners that she's with, who we suspect to be, but I don't think we've have yet confirmed, are the family of Theldenra. So, I miss a few things here, but I hear that a lock becomes undone. A loud screech that the party hears. I think it's like a screeching of metal, like I guess like iron doors, perhaps being grinded on stone. I don't know. It could have actually been someone screeching, but I don't know. I think it's unlikely for the context. Ellie enters a room full of weapons and cloaks, so this is the armory that we'll soon come across. And there's more noises as well, younger feminine voices. Emil suggests that it's Glasstaff with shapeshifting. Yeah, so we carry on. Eliza notices deep grooves at the bottom of the wall. 16 investigation check. Oh yeah, so it's back to us now. So Eliza, at the top of the staircase. I'll just try and find an image, if I've got one. No, I don't. Okay, so there's another secret wall. Basically, Eliza notices that there's deep grooves at the bottom of the wall. A 16 investigation check reveals that it's another secret door, and there is a switch. So we hit the switch, we open the door, and stuck between us and a human woman. Stuck between us and Ellie in the part between the secret wall. I'll put it up on the screen. The secret wall, the armory, and the crevasse, the northernmost part of the map, basically. Is a human red brand woman who just screams when Emil tells her to drop her spear, and she does. I don't know what happened to this human woman, actually. I think she just ran away. I think that's why Sildar Hallwinter gave chase. I'm not sure. Anyway, I didn't actually catch the rest of what happened there, but yes. So Eliza sees Ellie, and Ellie sees Eliza. Very much like that sort of. I'll have to show it in. It's in Discord, but it's the Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme. You know, and it's very much one of those moments where it's like they recognise each other. And Emil asks, "Potato?" And Eliza goes, "Potato!" And you'll have to watch the Sword of the Ember Knight videos, rather, second part, to understand the context behind that. So, Ellie is sort of stood there looking at us, going, "Who are you?" And then she turns to the prisoners behind her and goes, "Who are you?" And hijinks ensue. Eventually, Ellie explains who she is. The party explains. We introduce ourselves to Ellie, and Emil, not quite trusting her, knowing her from the dream, but not actually knowing her intentions or anything like that. Rolls a nat 1 for insight. He gets 5 in total. He has no idea of who she is, other than she's from the dream. We still don't know the family, like I say, behind it. It could be Vel's wife, it could be anyone. But we do know that they are in the cells, or were in the cells, so perhaps this is them. It seems likely. I'll find out later because I got business with Vel's family, so if they live at that house, then I'll confirm later. Anyway, we explain as well the Skellington password. I don't know why I write it down as Skellington. I know it's skeleton, but still never mind. We explained that you've got to say Ilafan at some stage in the crypt. I believe Ellie had actually come across the crypts while she was trying to escape. Also, as well, Ellie is covered in blood and peed a little bit. Yes, it's attention to detail in my notes. So, Eliza sees so she goes into the armory where Ellie is, and she sees the crypt dead ahead. And she says, "I don't know if I want to tell Garveld about this. Being a cleric of the grave, I would be very much interested."
Granddad's got a stiffy. Granddad's got a bone.
Shoria and Eliza hit it off. Shoria noticing how small Ellie is, even for a halfling. And she's trying to remember the politically correct word for short, and Emil shouts, "Vertically challenged!" And Ellie says that it's dinky and halfling. Interesting. I turn around and see Ellie and go, "Potato lady!" And she says, yes, I am the potato lady. I would prefer to be called Ellie, though. So, that's good. Now, Sildar, being nothing short of an idiot, decides to walk south. And I, also being an idiot, not informing the party, decide to go south also to keep an eye out for the Nothic, just to see if there's any danger of this creature sort of trying to ambush us or anything, or stalk us, or if it's, noshing on any bodies or whatever. So I do actually see the Nothic just peeking out from one of the stalactites, I believe. And it sees Sildar, but Sildar doesn't see it. And I just say, "Sildar!" I point to the Nothic. And the Nothic, and when Sildar turns to me and turns back, the Nothic has gone to the other side of the wall. Its eye goes black. And Sildar is now clutching his head. I imagine the Nothic's in his head, trying to taunt him. And eventually he shakes his head free of the Nothic's influence. He draws his long sword, and we roll initiative. Now, I have completely messed up the initiative count here, but I'll try and go through it as best I can. For some reason, I put 22 for Ellie, but I don't think that's right. I think she had a lower initiative count, because I think she misclicked a smile, I'm not sure. So, Garveld at 21, Shorier at 19, Emil at 15, surprised. Eliza, 19, surprised. The Nothic at 9, and Sildar has 2. This is the quickest round of combat I've ever seen in all my days. In the first round, I cast Sacred Flame on the Nothic. Just see if I can get any pictures up here so I can see. Okay, yes. So, so I cast Sacred Flame on the Nothic. It's a Dexterity saving throw of 12. The Nothic gets 21. I end my turn, basically. I've moved. I end my turn. Eliza's still shopping in the armory. With a perception of 9, she notices that the spears are shining. And she's sort of there, like, weighing the spear and sort of, like, mock hurling it and things like that. I better not do that too much. Just to try and get a feel of it. Emil, however, is a bit more perceptive. With a perception of 14, he hears commotion, he hears yelling. He drops the carefully gathered items, but he can't move due to the surprise round. Shoria now ushers the prisoners into the secret corridor towards the northwest, where we just come from, leading into Glasstaff's quarters. And but she can't really do a whole lot. She's trying to ready an action, like with Eldritch Blast, but she can't get a good shot because myself and Sildar are in the way. So, the Nothic opens its mouth. It unhinges it like a snake almost, and Sildar says, "I am not a failure," as the Nothic's influence is taking its toll on him. However, it doesn't do anything to Sildar as such. It does, however, do to me. I am asked to perform a Constitution saving throw. I rolled 2. I take 10 necrotic damage. I take the 10 necrotic damage, and the Nothic, now being essentially like bottlenecked, decides to run into the slither into the crevasse, or the crevice. I don't know which it is. Sildar gives chase. He leaps into the crevasse, and he tries to hit the creature twice and fails, calling the Nothic a fiend. Round 2, I guess Guiding Bolt, feeling rather... oh yes, I don't know if I mentioned I took 10 necrotic damage. I really should have been rather glad about that, to be honest, and of all the damage types, that's the kind that Garvel will be most okay with. So I cast a Guiding Bolt, I roll 7, I miss, I curse loudly. I was actually just wishing that the Guiding Bolt would just put me out of my misery, because that's a spell slot wasted. Eliza, now hearing the commotion and having heard Emil say, there's something going on, dashes to the northernmost bridge, and she's standing there looking, but she can't quite see what's going on. She can see Sildar, she can see the Nothic a little bit, she's seen the bodies, but can't really quite make out much. And due to having consumed her action to dash, can't really get all that much done. Now Ellie has managed to get a crossbow, and she comes out into a good enough spot where she rolls 24 to hit and gets... Oh yeah, she rolls 24, but it's a natural hit, 20, so she gets a critical hit. Now I wrote down here she does 25 damage thereabouts, but I think it worked out as a bit less than that, I'm not sure. Or it might have been 25 damage, like 19 plus sneak attack damage, I'm not quite sure. I don't know how these things work, you see. So its bony clavicle pops out a bit, according to our DM. Very, very gory stuff indeed. Emil joins the fray, but he doesn't quite know what's happening. He just asks, "What the hell's going on?" Not really knowing what's going on. Shoria then responds on her turn that the Nothic's turned on us. She readies an Eldritch Blast when she can get a good shot, but it's quite difficult given the conditions that their party's in. The Nothic then swipes at Sildar twice, misses, it rolled 8 and 10, and then it jumps back up the crevice again next to me, and I'm rather terrified. Sildar can't really move so good, and he can't hit the nothing, so he's basically stuck there. Round 3. I cast Toll the Dead, Wisdom saving throw 12. The Nothic rolled 2, and I do 12 damage, the maximum amount, which I'm rather chuffed with. Eliza will throw a spear. I don't know why I put it as will throw a spear, as it's future tense. Eliza throws a spear, attack 15, just hits, and does 4 damage. The spear is straight through the Nothic's leg. It's howling in pain. Ellie then rolls 23 crossbow. Roll 23 with a crossbow that she got from the armory. Shoots. She does 11 damage, and she shoots it through the head. And its head, not just shoots through the head, it goes straight through the back of its carapace. It just goes stuck to the wall, and eventually, with the weight of it, it eventually falls to the ground, dead. I was a bit disappointed I didn't get the clean blow, but you know what? I've killed the king bugbear, so I'm all right. I ain't too bad. I wanted to avenge Thel, but as I was corrected, others have said to me that it wasn't the Nothic who killed him, only ate him. So fair enough. But still, and hey, you know what? No, I'm not disappointed. What am I about? I'm not disappointed. I'm glad. I'm glad that this fearsome beast that we believe is the most horrible creature that we've come across so far has actually been a bit of a cakewalk. So that's good. Don't take that as an excuse to buff the enemies, Michaela. Please don't. Thank you. Right, combat end. Pinned to the wall and falls. 5, 6. Right, okay. So, Sildar and I kick the Nothic's corpse, which I really shouldn't do. I need to work on being a cleric of the grave. I am enjoying myself way too much with that. I decide then to place a blanket over Thel's corpse, just as the potential Dendrar family come out as Shori brings them out. Eliza asks them if they're okay, and they just say they're glad to be alive, and that's really about it. So, oh yes, that's right, yeah. So I'm sort of now climbing into the crevasse. Sorry, I'm already in the crevasse, putting the blanket over Theldendra's body. Emil's looking for the chicken that he paid about 100 gold pieces for, and he doesn't see it. There are feathers, but he can't see the chicken himself, so he's a bit disappointed about that. Eliza asks, "Will the crypts make me feel better? Will the crypts make Garvel feel better?" As I'm just sort of here enjoying this nice little pit. I have explained to the party that I am claustrophiliac, if that is such a thing. Is that the right word? I don't know, but yeah, a love of, or perhaps even a fetish for tight spaces. So, anyway, so I'm enjoying myself here, and I'm just sort of like sipping on my mead to heal myself. Emil comes over and offers some healing, and I say, "No, I'm good, thanks. I've got my healing potion right here." So he tries to deceive me successfully. I say that he didn't even need to roll for it. He tries to offer me a healing potion to chase that, a shot of healing potion to chase that mead, and I take it. And I, according to our DM's house rules, an administered potion is maximum healing, so that's good. Thank you ever so much for Kayla for that. So I get back to 20 HP. Woohoo! And I'm sort of just enjoying myself here. However, I am going to look around while I'm in this crevasse. I'm quite comfortable. And in this crevasse, I notice, while I use Eyes of the Grave to detect undead, I don't find any undead, mercifully. But there is a necrotic aura. It is magical. There is something about this area that's cold, icily cold, familiar kind of cold. And I try to find the source of it by using Eyes of the Grave, and unfortunately I'm not successful. What I do find, however, is a chest filled with coin. I find 160 silver pieces, 120 gold pieces, 5 malachites, 15 gold each, and off to the side as well I find 2 familiar vials of vials, which are 2 potions of healing. Now I need to ask the party how this has all been distributed, so I will do that once I've stopped recording. But I also find a scroll of augury. I'm not entirely familiar what that is. I know what augury is IRL, but I don't know what it means in D&D terms. I'll have to ask our DM. Lodged further back, I find a scabbard, but not just a scabbard, the rest of the sword within it. Now I think this was supposed to be a short or a long sword, but our DM said that no one could really use it, so they made it into a rapier instead. And so, guess who took that? Good old Eliza Elmwood. So, Eliza grabs the gems and the sword that I take out. Oh yes, the sword, I should explain it. I open the scabbard to reveal an ancient blade. It appears to be silver, or at least the hilt, I believe, or the pommel is silver. The sword is named Talon, that's written on it. I should ask what language that's in as well. The hilt is in the shape of an eagle with its wings spread, and it is, I have to say, the image in my mind's eye of that is incredible. I love the look of this weapon. It's just a shame I can't use it. So anyway, I'm sort of tossing all this stuff up to the westernmost side of the crevasse, and just like carelessly. It's like, it doesn't interest me. I really should have put one of those things in my some of that stuff in my arms box for the temple, but seeing as that's a bit of finders keepers sort of thing for Garvel, that he'll put a portion of it in his arms box because it's for the temple or for some holy deeds, such as, for instance, giving Phandelver the funeral he deserves. And I must remember as well Grista, the dwarf who ran the Sleeping Giant Inn, who was killed and thrown in the pit. So I got a 9 in history to know more about Talon, and I don't know anything about it. So I need to find, that's another quest as well, to ask more about Talon, see who knows about the legend of it, because I am from Neverwinter. Well, my character's lived in Neverwinter for several hundred years. Yeah, several hundred years, so it's understandable that he would be able to have a crack at it. But unfortunately, no. Identify wouldn't reveal the history, but it would reveal if it's magical in nature or anything like that. Unfortunately, I don't get that spell. I thought I did, but I was remembering it. Oh no, it's knowledge. It's knowledge. I was reminded rather that knowledge and arcana clerics get that. I was thinking of all the other characters that I've created and never got around to playing. So, anyway. So, yes. So Eliza's grabbing all this stuff. And we now decide that we're going to fast forward a bit to try and bring an end to Tresendar Manor in this session, because our DM is quite, not strict as such, but they've set a clear timetable for us where we're going to finish at 10 o'clock or as near to as possible, and if there's a chance to end the session on a good note, they will, and they did. I'm really pleased with how they ended this session. I'll get around to something else in a bit, but yeah. Anyway, right. So we fast forward. So yeah, we fast forward, and we have the goal of cleaning out the manor. We encounter the skeletons, and we use the password to get past them. We find 1 platinum ring worth 50 gold pieces. We also learn as well of the Tresendar family through the crypts. So we see the names on them, and yeah, not much to be had there really. I would like to. Now, I can't deny, I'm a bit disappointed that we couldn't really get into combat. That because I wanted to really fight the skeletons, but Ellie's player did reassure me that there is always time to put them to the sword, or rather put them to the hammer and the shield. So who knows? I've just realised my character has in their pack a sickle as well. Garveld, oh my, I've realised actually I may have actually accidentally created Karl Marx with the hammer and the sickle. Oh dear. Wait. No. Marx a communist? I don't know, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that at all. Anyway, so, point is, hammer and sickle. Right, put the skeletons to the sickle. Right, anyway, so, we fast forward. We use the password, we see the cells, they're empty. And some red brands, dead, next cut. Great. Now we move past the crypt, we move south, and we come across, we move south and then to the east, and there's a long corridor, and I do believe it is Ellie who, because Eliza remembers from her dream that Ellie is good with finding traps, she reveals with an investigation check of 16 that there is a trap, a 10-foot square, 10 feet from the doors that we've just come through, and She's rather excited. Ellie's rather excited to see this trap. She's on her hands and knees, like a cat looking under the fridge. I think she described it as, and finds the trap cool. So she's trying to use a spear to sort of break this trap because it's tiles over a pit. We don't know how deep the pit is. Eliza as well tries to use a spear. They both roll. No, that's the wrong sheet. 4 and 9. And they don't really get to do anything with the. They don't really do anything to the pit. It just doesn't move. They just drill holes in it basically. So Emil, knowing how well he sort of throws things, like he's going back to the Sleeping Giant Inn where he threw a bed with one arm across the other side of a room. He's offering to toss Ellie across the chasm. And she's already climbing up into his arms, basically. So, with a strength throw of 20, further confirming that Emil always rolls well out of combat, he successfully throws Ellie across the room, and yes, and then, furthermore, Ellie has to make sure she does a dexterity check to land. She rolls a natural 20 plus 5, so 25, 2 flips, and she lands deftly on the ground across, so that's good. Now, going off their strength scores rather than modifiers, Eliza and Emil have the ability to jump across with no problems at all. Shori and I, however, would have to make a strength check, eventually. Or would we? No, because what happens next is that Ellie and Eliza, they're going to scout the room towards the south past this trap, and they find arches, they find some doors, as well as slowly running water in a cistern, and there's also as well a trail of water leading out to these steps out the door. So Eliza's sort of saying all this as Ellie's navigating. Also as well, Ellie's trying to sneak. She's trying to sneak and peek through the doors. She only gets 12, and she's humming to herself as well as she's sneaking. She's humming the Pink Panther theme as well. She's having the time of her life being free, so that's good. Yeah, so eventually she goes outdoors and she finds that the remains of Trezendar Manor. So she finds that there's forest, there's the ruins of the outside, so that means that that door is another exit, or rather the entrance, that we may have had to go in were it not for us taking the secret route. So, eventually, Emil, Ellie and Eliza, they go into the room, they look around, and we're told, Emil then decides to leap over the chasm, leap over the pit trap rather, and escort myself and Shoria through the chasm, through the sort of where the Nothic was, through the crypts, through the armory, through the some sort of little storage room as well near the secret entrance to or exit from Glasstaff's quarters, down into the chasm where another corridor is, and we come across a dead end, or we would, were it not a secret door. Emil uses an investigation check of 17 to find a secret door to the south. And we eventually go in and we meet up with the other players, so we don't have to go across that pit trap. So that's good. Emil perception check. One last door. Oh, sorry. Oh yes. Sorry. So before that, we're all now in the room with the cistern and the trail of water leading outdoors, and there is one last door in this room to check. Before we do, though, we're looking in the barrels. There's dried food, fresher provisions, sugar. We're even considering that we might give them back to whoever will run the Sleeping Giant Inn. Perhaps Toblin Stonehill can franchise and have one directly next door. But still, so yeah, so these supplies might be useful. Ellie checks the final door at the northwesternmost door of this room, and with a perception check of 5. That's the end of the session. Shoria rightly uses the EastEnders ending theme, do 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 do, and yeah, that sets the tone for the next game. So we're all on the seat the edge of our seats, rather. Looking forward to the next session, which I hope will be on the 19th of December. Fingers crossed. We'll get one last game, because I think we resume on the 3rd of January, I believe. So hopefully I haven't got anything on then, because I would really like to continue. But yes, it has been a delightful session. I would like to have dealt with the skeletons. I would like to have spent a bit more time with Thel, but I don't think it's really fair for me to want that much, given that I don't really interact with the other player characters. I don't really do well in RP, and it's not really fair for me to take the spotlight on certain things when I don't do that much. I'm way too shy. I will freely admit I'm way too shy, and I need to do better by my group in order to start feeling like I, deserve to do the things that the RP bits that I want to do. But we'll see what happens next session. I imagine that, going by what we've seen of the map so far, this isn't going to be like this. Like, we're not going to be spending much more time in Tresendar Manor. After that, we'll probably have a nice shopping episode or something like that. We can have a nice wander around around the town. We can sort out some affairs. We can finally offload some of this money in poor Shoria's bra of holding, and and see where things go from there. But this, thank goodness, might actually be the last of the red brands we see for a while. Hopefully in this room is Glasstaff, hog-tied with an apple in his mouth, and, well, let's not go there, shall we? Pulp Fiction, the Pulp Fiction route. So, yes, but I would like to see that the Necromancer gets his just desserts. So, that's it for me. Thank you ever so much for watching. It has been a delight to return to the Lost Mine of Phandelver, to say that a lot of us weren't entirely sure if we wanted to do this again, but no, I was not ready to retire Garveld yet, and I have unfinished business with the Necromancer that brought Thel from the graveyard to the manor. But yeah, and I think having the 5th player, Ellie Toscobble, is going to be wonderful. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Take care, have yourselves a pleasant time, and may your dice forever remain clacky. Ta for now.